Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
It's Tornado Tony Bennico.
And Psychic Tom Pettit with a red-hot unveiled crystal ball.
Awesome. Well, we actually don't have too much upcoming in MMA. The only fight coming up is actually going on right now. Before next week's show, anyway. So next week we'll talk about the June 1st UFC show. Another Alexander Gustafsson fight, but tonight, actually, right now, don't change your station. Just telling you. Professional Fighters League 2 of the number 2 of the regular season here is underway. And so far we've had 3 fights. First fight was a win from Gadzi Rabadanov over Steven Siler. I believe it was in the UFC for a brief period. It was a unanimous decision. Then we had Movlid. Tough names on this one. Yeah, I'm waiting for sure dog to load it here. Movlid Haibulev beating Damon Jackson by knockout from a flying knee. And get this, 10 seconds into the fight. I guess that's going to be the next viral video we're going to see. Facebook or Twitter or whatever. That sounds like a exciting knockout right there. You don't see those a lot now. People know to watch out for them. So that was his move, and he went with it, and it succeeded, obviously. So he must be deadly accurate with that thing. Luis Rafael Laurentino got a win over Jeremy Kennedy by way of head kick and punches, TKO. That was 23 seconds into the first round. So obviously there's a theme going here. I wonder if the next fight's going to end in the first round.
Yes.
That'll be interesting if they keep that up all night.
Yes. Yes.
The next fight is Nathan Schulte versus what is this guy's name? Hold on. Ying Kang Bao. So these are all tough to pronounce. I don't know where they get these guys. Rashid Magomedov in the 5th fight of the night, fighting Loik Radabov. And we got Islam Mamedov fighting Eli Zhouroun. Oh man, that's a tough one. Djiroun for last name. Djurin, I guess. Ahmed Aliev also on the card fighting Carlos Silva. We got Ramsey Najem, Ultimate Fighter guy from the UFC, fighting Ronis Torres. And we got Andre Harrison fighting Peter Pettis. And the co-main event is Chris Wade versus Nate Andrews. And then the main event is Lance Palmer fighting Alex Gilpin. And they have records for these two. Lance is 17-3 and Gilpin is 12-1. So that's the only MMA upcoming to talk about. And then we're gonna get to the one that we have to talk about a recap of. Rafael dos Anjos. Pretty much, I didn't really get to see this fight, but kind of fell asleep on it. But he pretty much dismantled Kevin Lee, and there's a lot of talk about what happened to him. You know, how's he gonna find his mojo again? But yeah, Rafael dos Anjos beat him by arm triangle choke. Took him to the 4th round though. So obviously it must not have been a.
Yeah, it was competitive. But it seemed like when he could not get the takedown, the air went out of the balloon. I don't know if it was a cardio issue, a mental issue, but he lost 3 out of his last 4 now. So I think that hype train has been derailed. Right.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm sure he's going to have to go back to the drawing board. But Rafael dos Anjos, like I said last week, I mean, it depends on which guy shows up sometimes. You know, is it going to be the perfectly healthy, all-out, you know, world beater, or is it going to be the guy with an injury who's just dragging himself out there for a paycheck, you know.
Yeah, and you know, Rich, you can't even go by the style of the opponent there, because Kevin Lee has great wrestling skills, but he just wasn't able to make it work. And Joe Saunders has come up short with wrestlers before that you just don't know about him. He's so streaky.
True. We had Ian Heinisch in the co-main event, beating Antonio Carlos Jr. by unanimous decision. And we had a couple first-round stoppages before that. Felicia Spencer beating Megan Anderson by rear naked choke. That was 3 minutes and 24 seconds into their fight. We had Vicente Luque beating Derek Krantz. This was the one that I fell asleep after or during. That was a knockout in the first round, 3 minutes and 52 seconds in. And Krantz actually was doing really good. I definitely watched this one, because this is the one where Vicente just came back and clobbered him at the end of the round. The guy got a little tired, I guess, but he was a dynamic fighter up until the point where Luque connected a few times and then just turned the tables on him. Before that, we had Charles Oliveira taking out Nick Lentz in the second round by TKO. 2 minutes and 11 seconds into that one, and that was a rough go for Nick. Charles was on his game there. Davi Ramos also beat Austin Hubbard by unanimous decision. We had Aspen Ladd in another female fight beating Sajara Eubanks. Unanimous decision again. Desmond Green beat Charles Jourdain by unanimous decision. Michael Pereira over Danny Roberts. Came by way of a flying knee again and punch to follow it up. There's 1 minute and 47 seconds into that contest. And we had Grant Dawson versus Michael Trezano, and Grant won that with a submission. Rear naked choke. Oh, sure, dog, cut it out. Before we get to the other two, here we go. Ed Herman also getting back into the win column against Patrick Cummins by knee and punches as well. That was 3 minutes and 39 seconds into the first round, so a lot of first round stoppages on this card. And we had a guillotine choke submission. Zach Cummins over Trevin Giles. That was 4 minutes and 1 second into the third round. And Julio Arce in the first fight of the night beating Julian Rosa by head kick knockout. That's a rare one. 1 minute and 49 seconds into the third round. And I don't know how much you guys hate this topic already, but we do have to talk about the latest Floyd Mayweather comeback rumor. Floyd is now saying, or no, actually, Amir Khan has been quoted as saying, Floyd may come back to fight Manny on one condition. This was the big headline in their paper, and you know, the British people are supposed to be upscale and proper, as they say, right? So I go look at this headline story, and not only is it blatantly misrepresenting what the article is supposed to be about, that Mayweather is saying this. No, it's Amir Khan saying this, that Mayweather might come back again on one condition. But they put the Khan in Amir Khan at the end, like a dash Amir Khan. So you don't know what they're talking about until you read the story, right? But then in the first sentence of the story, they make a huge grammatical error. They don't even set it up properly, like, the verb doesn't fit. So anyway, the story, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and believe the story that they put out there. But apparently Amir Khan has said that Floyd will he's almost positive Floyd will come out of retirement for Manny Pacquiao if Pacquiao does really well against Keith. But only if. Otherwise, he has no motivation to do it, supposedly. But I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how Khan knows that.
Yeah, right. Like he's best buds with Floyd Mayweather. It doesn't say, "Oh yeah, I talked to
Okay.
Floyd last week. He said, yeah, he'll fight him if this." Nothing. It's just pure speculation.
Okay, so has Floyd told anyone else that besides Amir?
I don't think so. No, I don't know. I don't know though. I mean,
We don't know. Okay.
he hasn't elaborated.
Just asking. Yeah, my psychic intuition says he hasn't told anyone else.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna call him after the show and verify that. Because I have him on speed dial.
You do that.
No, I don't. But if I was living in Vegas, I could track him down pretty quick. But no, not anymore. Some other stories we have before we get into the boxing results and upcoming fights. We have what was it here? Wrestling to talk about, actually.
Really?
Ted Turner is back in the wrestling business. TNT is actually going to be doing All Elite Wrestling. All Elite Wrestling and Warner Media made a long-standing wrestling rumor official. They announced that the startup promotion's flagship show will air weekly on TNT beginning this fall. Now, no financial terms are being put out for this blockbuster deal, but they don't have a time slot or a debut date either. Their debut show is a pay-per-view. I mean, way to blast out the product when you don't even know what to expect. You're going to put out a pay-per-view. I mean, that's balls, I'd say. That you think it's going to be successful. Pay-per-view
really
after
is.
that.
Yeah, like now, some of your characters, like your Chris Jericho's, guys like that, they're known to
Right.
They're known, to casual wrestling fans. They're known to hardcore wrestling fans. And some people that are wrestling fans may in turn buy it, just because of the curiosity factor. But you're right, that is a balls move because you haven't developed your characters yet. You haven't developed your storyline yet.
And also, another angle here is that the deal, although they don't have financials behind it, it's not structured like usual TV deals. In fact, they are splitting a lot of the costs of production, and also they're splitting the advertising revenue. Not only splitting it, but they actually have set it up so that AEW, All Elite Wrestling, will earn a minimum figure even if their share of ad revenue falls below a downside / floor. So basically, they get a guaranteed amount of ad revenue, even if they don't generate that as half of their proceeds. So that's pretty unheard of, I'd say, in the TV business. Especially when you consider the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, they had to pay all their production costs, and all they got out of it was their ad revenue from the TV show, the very first one when they signed it. And actually, so to the end of the show, every episode, every season, they still Tough Guy Productions is producing it, so it has nothing to do with the network people, as far as I know, to this day. And whether that's because they always did it that way and they wanted to keep it that way, or because networks always wanted it that way, I don't know. But this is obviously TNT laying out the red carpet here for this venture, and hopefully it succeeds. Because I didn't read the whole article too, but I did hear Linda McMahon apparently made the first big mention of All Elite Wrestling in a speech to the talent, basically behind the scenes. It obviously wasn't on any of the broadcasts for WWE. It wasn't on Monday Night Raw or anything, but yeah, she brought it up. And I didn't read the whole article or even find out what the gist of it was, but she definitely is aware of it, obviously, and is laying down some either warnings or encouragement to her people that they're going to be taken care of. And they don't need to leave.
I mean, you go back 27 years ago when they had that, Monday Night War going on between Ted Turner, WCW, and Vince McMahon with WWE as the time passed. And, WCW was very bold. Ted Turner had purchased it back in, I guess it was like the late 80s. I remember the Vince McMahon, I'm in the wrestling business. He's like, well, that's great, And for a while, it wasn't, keeping pace. And then, they were able to sign some of the past WWE stars, like the Hulk Hogan's and the Randy Savages and all that. But some of the storylines, were still kind of, And even when they started with going head-to-head on Monday night, they're like, this is a suicide mission. But Eric Bischoff came out and said, controversy creates cash.
Right.
And I think in the same way, competition creates cash. Because it gets you both with a Raiders edge going, And, like I said, they were still falling behind, but then they turned on that New World Order angle, and they turned Hulk Hogan heel, and, they became a very edgy product, and they soared ahead. They won the Monday Night Rating Award for 83 straight weeks.
Right.
And what did it do? It forced WWF to pick up their game. They had lost a lot of stars, so it ended up being great because maybe some of the guys got in tail. They developed new stars. They really elevated the guys like Shawn Michaels and the Mick Foley's, Steve Austin's, guys like that really took the ball and ran with it. The Undertaker was still there, obviously, and it ended up, even though they were losing, they in turn were winning, and it worked out obviously great for them. And then now, like right now, maybe they've got a little stale again. Maybe this will be the kickstart that they need, and lo and behold, there you go.
Right. Well, I have to correct myself because this article that I was reading for my information is wrong, because they put the correction at the bottom of the article here that says Ted Turner has nothing to do with Turner Broadcasting because it's now renamed Warner Media. It was renamed earlier this year. Ted is no longer involved. So, way to not correct the article itself on the internet, which is easily correctable, and keep your first sentence, which talks about Ted Turner. Keep the headline, but you leave the fine print way at the bottom of the article. So if I didn't do my homework, everybody would have been believing that Ted Turner was, trying to start a fight with Vince McMahon. He's probably on a freaking rant somewhere drinking beers. Who knows?
Yeah.
But TNT is still out there, so I wasn't wrong about that. So they are going to TNT, but Ted Turner has nothing to do with it anymore. Well, dropped our microphone there. Whoops. Alright. Sorry about the sound effects. Tito Ortiz is having to eat some crow lately. He's been asked about his experience with Golden Boy MMA. And he's a long-time feud with Dana White. And now he's had to admit that his ex-boss, ex-manager, potential boxing opponent, which never occurred, but he had to tell all the media that Dana was right about Oscar De La Hoya going into MMA. I think it was a complete failure, his effort with the Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell fight. The high report for buys on that pay-per-view was $40,000. And that came, or 40,000 buys. And that came after the pay-per-view price was lowered to $40 in the final week due to bad advance sales. But when they did this. Ortiz hadn't fought in the UFC in over 6 years, and Liddell hadn't fought in 8 years, period, and actually hadn't won a fight in almost 11. But basically, I think Ortiz said I think he made a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, for a boxing promoter to come into mixed martial arts, it's a different animal. Dana was right. So, yeah, those 3 words must have hurt him. He's the one that was famous because he made the beef famous when he brought. He wore the T-shirt that said "Dana is my bitch" to a weigh-in. You talk about pissing off the boss. I don't know how he was allowed to even get into the arena with that. Nuts. Anyway.
Really?
Tito Hoya recently said he wishes Dana White all the best, and he didn't put it in these words, but the author of this article does. He says he doesn't think White would do any better in boxing than he did in MMA. And of course, White has now updated his whole UFC Zuffa boxing thing by saying that, sometime this summer we're gonna have a big announcement. But we'll see if there's smoke or there's fire. There might not be in this situation, but I've always said that he's been pretty irresponsible on that front by going out there and basically pulling a Pride by saying, hey, yeah, we're going to buy Pride, we're going to create a Super Bowl of MMA, and then now he's saying 2 years ago he was talking about Zuffa boxing, it's going to be the biggest thing, we're going to get all these guys to fight big time people, Stipe Miocic versus Anthony Joshua, and, there was other names floated around, John Jones might box, and now you've got Jose Aldo talking about wanting to box, or Jose.
That just never got off the ground, did it?
Yeah, but they couldn't put the pieces together. They couldn't figure out how Dana White could get away with being an independent contractor type of promoter in one sport and then go over to boxing where they have the Muhammad Ali Act and operate the same way. So I think that's where they're struggling, but I don't know the real reason. I think it's also because he's afraid. He's really afraid to compete with those guys. They all hate him. I mean, Bob Arum hates his guts. So, I don't know how it's going to happen. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya is not going to want to work with him. So, there's your second enemy. The only person I could think of is the UK guy there, Hearn. That would be the only person I would think that would want to deal. Or Roy Jones. Roy Jones already has a deal. And Murphy's Boxing just had a deal announced with the UFC Fight Pass. So those are the places they could start with, but it would be very fledgling. And then you've got maybe Al Heyman could be lured into an agreement, possibly because of the Floyd Mayweather connection, and Floyd has fought Conor McGregor through the UFC, but even that's a long shot. So I don't know how they're going to make it work, but I'm actually hoping they do come through and do something, because one thing I've always said about MMA is that the hands and the defense for striking are just classically weak, and it's not a discipline they spend enough time on, I think, because there's so much punching in MMA fights and there's so little good defense out there. And like the last person I could even point to as having almost perfect defense for striking was Rose Namajunas, even though she got KO slammed by a fluke pile driver. But up till then, she had flawless defense. It was just basically always having one hand up by the face. And I know when I talk about this, I always have to mention the fact that karate and some of those other martial arts teach you for balance when you're kicking to keep your hands way up by the side of your face, like up in the air. So I think that might have a lot to do with guys not blocking their face enough. I don't know. It's just one of those things. So I'm looking forward to it and seeing a lot of these guys cross over and and also for the money, because these guys are not making good money. And you're starting to see the effects in the way of people leaving, which brings us to our next story. I sent you guys both a picture of Sage Northcutt, and Tony loved it because this is the guy that was going to be Ivan Drago's son. That was your response.
This is the guy that campaigned to be Victor Drago. Are you kidding me? Oh man, what was it? 26 seconds. He had like 8 facial fractures.
Yes, 29 seconds actually. I was wrong. It took him 26 hours. This opponent for Sage to get to the fight, and it was 29 seconds that the fight lasted. So yeah, that's crazy. But the guy who did it is no slouch, Cosmo Alexander. He's actually a Muay Thai coach at one of the big gyms in the United States. But yeah, it was an absolutely massive right hand they caught. I still haven't watched it or seen video of it, but I'm sure it was pretty devastating. And the picture says 1,000 words. 8 fractures in a 9-hour intense operation. So yeah, lots of pieces to put back together, and I mean, just the friggin' X-ray is gruesome. If you look at it, like you can see the left eye socket, like just dislocated. Yeah, and there's all kinds of stuff out of there. There's cracks over there. I mean, it is messed up. So yeah, let's face that right hand alone just leveled the facial structure of this poor kid. Going over on the height of his popularity in the UFC, basically, to an overseas Asian market, thinking, oh, they're going to love me. Not so dynamic anymore when they pick a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I guess the question is, was that a freak punch, or does he just have just not a strong constitution to take a punch? That's the question.
Well, it goes back to, like I said, poor defense, and he's not so much karate like Michael Thompson there. Or is it Michael Thompson or Stephen Thompson? Wonder Boy. He's not so much karate like that, but he does mix it up quite a bit. And he tries to be dynamic, and that kind of can get you in trouble sometimes too, because you forget to just do the basic strike. Yeah.
That was one punch that did that to him. That's not normal. Not normal at all. I mean, that's
well, you also have now. You have now a lot of UFC fighters. I think there's only one recent UFC signee. Or they're just that much better competition because they, I think they bring in people from all walks of life, from all circles of combat sports, and this guy had a very heavy Muay Thai background, which basically, was enough to have him a paid gig as a coach on one of the biggest camps in the country. So, I think they just been in there underestimating this guy, and also they gotta remember this is the first time these guys are fighting in a ring too, for the most part, most of the time.
Yeah, okay. This reminds me of the talk about Pride though back in the early part of the 2000s decade. That Pride would bring people from all over. And Pride was considered Pride paid more, and it was considered superior to the UFC back then. Because it paid and it drew fighters from everywhere.
Right.
But you don't hear that much about them compared to Pride. I mean, Pride was.
Well, actually, they just first became $1 billion corporation. I think last year. They just announced that they're worth $1 billion. So they're kind of they're snowballing, and right now they're attracting so much of this cast-off UFC talent because you've got a lot of these guys at the end of their career. UFC UFC doesn't think there's anything left in them. You know, they're not going to make a title run. So they're irrelevant to them. But they have the name overseas that people recognize. And they haven't seen before in that market. So just that alone, whether they lose or they win, I mean, they're going to generate more interest from that fan base. So I think that's why they're doing it. But they're obviously having to offer them pretty good payment packages to get them to make that move.
Yeah, but see, that was the whole thing, say, around 2000, 2001, 2002. The better fighters in the UFC, the Mark Holmans, the Don Fries, the Mario Stairs, they were all going over pride in the fight of their career. It wasn't like, well, they're all washed up in America, we'll send them over there.
Right. Well, I think what's his name there? Now I can't think of his name. The guy we were just talking about, the MMA fighter that got the fractures. Sage.
Sage, yeah.
I hate it when that happens. Sage Northcutt. So he was probably the most successful UFC fighter at the youngest age to make that transition. So of all the people you think would do well over there, it would be him. But I think what happens a lot is in the UFC, they think a lot about what's the best matchup for a guy. You know, let's put him in against somebody that makes sense on paper, that it should be a fight. You know, whereas I think in one, they just, not randomly, but I think they just, you know, they just go with whoever they have. They have a limited talent base. They don't have as big a roster as the UFC, so they bring a lot of different people in. It might be their first time fighting with the promotion. And obviously, if this guy had to come from 26 hours away, he's not a in-house talent. So maybe it's just a fluke, you know. He was way overmatched. He's a little too young in his career, and this guy came out of nowhere. Maybe nobody expected him to do that well, but yeah.
Well, you have an interesting point though, because if one is attracting superior talent, what does that say about Ben Askren?
Right.
Think about it, because he was undefeated in one. I mean, he was given a close fight once by a Brazilian Muay Thai guy that made it close, but Askren still beat him. But Askren just went through everyone over there. It's really interesting. What are you thinking about that? Because I just hadn't really considered one being anywhere near the level of what Floyd was back in the early days. But,
well, yeah, until you see some of the best UFC fighters saying, no, I'm not going to extend my contract, I'm going to go sign with one, and then watch how they do, we really won't know. But obviously we're never going to see the Super Bowl one versus the UFC, but at the same time, just the fact that they had a trade was a big deal. That the UFC would do a deal like that with another company was a huge deal. So
well, and then another thing that happened when Pride shut down and those fighters came to America, they didn't do so well because there was drug testing.
Right.
And drug testing was very new back then. And I don't think in Pride's heyday there was any drug testing whatsoever. None. None. So
I believe it. I mean, how the hell else are you going to do 10-minute rounds?
Train hard.
Yeah.
Train hard. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was interesting because, well, look at Shogun Rua.
Yeah.
He didn't have anywhere near the success in the UFC, even though he did get the belt for a while. But, I mean, he was a dominant force.
Mm-hmm.
As was Vanderlei Silva. And, we can start going down the line there with Rampage Jackson and so many of the other ones. I mean, they had some success, but they just weren't the factors that they were in Pride. So.
We shall see, for sure. Anyway, we can't lock Tony out of the show. We got to bring some boxing in. we got Deontay Wilder fight to talk about. There wasn't much action, of course. It was just a quick hit. Right hand knockout, of course.
I want to get Tom's opinion on it. At the time of the stop, I had Brazil ahead. What about you?
Yes. I would agree. It was close. I mean, you could easily make that case. But if you look back, like Brazil initially felt that it was a quick stoppage, but I think the referee was right. What do you think?
Well, you know, I mean, when you reach 10, 10 is 10, right?
You know, and,
I was looking on ESPN one time, and the fighter got knocked down, and the referee counted 10, and he got up a second or two later. He got up at what would have been 11 or 12, and he's arguing to stop it. And I think what Pacquiao was like, 10 is 10. You know, you don't argue this. When the guy reaches 10 and you are still on your knee, it's over. You know, there is no I can consider.
Right.
yeah, exactly. And it was. I noticed last night on the PBC wrap-up, Deontay defended all of his briefing comments. Apparently, there was some real over-the-line trash talk. He said Brazil was threatening his family. I didn't hear anything about that.
Whoa.
So it was pretty nasty. But he didn't make any apology whatsoever about what he said. So, and, you know,
one thing I did read was that after it was over, Brazil took down his, like, he deactivated his Twitter and all sorts of social media. And Iceman John Scully was talking about it.
I saw that post.
And yeah, you saw that post. And John was, you know, making some good points. It's like, you know, because you get a lot of these uneducated fans out there, a lot of people that have the guts to do anything like this, and they're just going to give a trash a guy. But then at the same time, it's almost like you're running away and hiding. But I mean, at this point, I can't fault the man. That's just taking a little bit of time, you know, just to kind of lay low and, you know, lick his wounds a little bit, so to speak. You know, social media wasn't around when we were in college, so I mean, we didn't have to deal with that. I mean, I just imagine, you know, back 20 years ago, you know, you're fighting the Lockhaven Home Show, my home arena, and I lose, and there's the people that from my college that I really didn't know, they're going to sit there, you know, send messages or posting on forums like, boy, he got his ass kicked, he sucks, what a disgrace. You know, I wouldn't want to read that.
No.
At the same time, when you're in a sport like that, you are, you know, subject to that. It reminds me of the time I went to the Blue Horizon and they were heckling that one fighter after he got stopped. And, well, he came up into the audience.
Well, that'll teach him.
I mean, what does Brazil have to be ashamed of? He went in, he gave him what he could, he got caught. He got caught by the guy who seems to be the hardest punching heavyweight right now, even though he's, 210 pounds? But this is not bodybuilding competition. And I think Anthony Joshua maybe better lay off the curls a little bit, you know? I mean, Wilder would lose the physique contest. But you look at that power of that right hand, that's a force of nature.
Yeah.
One of our former guests has been there, Anthony Joshua. I don't know if you heard about that. Joey Dueco.
Oh, yes.
He's been down working with one of Joshua's sparring partners.
I saw that picture, too. That was pretty cool. You commented on it. That's why I saw it. But, yeah. Sitting right next to him. Talking about great work. And Anthony Joshua's got a fight coming up June 1st. That's a pretty popular weekend. Next weekend. Not a lot going on this weekend, but that's a big one.
Not really. But, you know, a lot of times they usually all.
And I did want to talk about last week's story that you sent me, Tony, about that somebody's O's got to go, but it went in a different way. Nigel Benn's son, 0-14 was he? 0-16? I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, what a story.
0-16.
Hey, what a story that was, huh?
He beats a guy who's 6-0.
Wow. I mean, what does that do for... What is that? How do you process something like that? I mean, Nigel Benn's son?
Yeah.
How do you process that? Wow. I
He's
mean,
the one
you know,
that
loss is one thing. But you look at your opponent's record, and just stuff we talk about every week on here, you know?
The mismatch of the week became the upset of the week.
Yeah?
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we've got...
It reminds me of this. I'm going back almost 20 years on this. They used to have a Days Inn up in Allentown, PA, about 45 minutes of where I live, and not far from Eastern PA, which is where Larry Holmes was from. And they would have some fights at this Days Inn. They were like smaller fights. I knew some of the guys on the card, and the one time Larry's nephew was fighting on the card, and he was whatever and 0, 2-0, 3-0. Big kid, he was cut out of granite, and the guy he was fighting was this, short, chunky, pale skin, freckled guy wearing basketball shorts with his gut hanging over his shorts and sneakers. So you look at this fight, and it's going to be a massacre, and it should have been. And this kid comes out and he wings a couple big, white, loop and ugly punches. He looked a lot like the kid from The Sandlot, the kid that was the catcher.
Right.
You pull the ball like a girl. That kid, you're telling me small, fat kid. He actually looked like a grown-up version of him. And Larry's nephew's popping a few jabs, and this kid gets about 20 seconds into it, and this fight's going to be over in a matter of seconds, and he wings a right-hand bomb, and down goes Larry's nephew. Boom. And he gets up, and they stop fighting. And Larry's doing the color commentary. And I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could see the shock look on his face, like, you gotta be kidding me. And it's like, you're no relation to me,
Right. Well, the guy's name was Lee Hallett.
It shows.
Lee Hallett with 2 T's. He's the one that beat Nigel Benn's son, Conor. Goes by Harley, I guess. Harley Ben. He had built up a record of 6-0 before beating Hallett. Now he's 6-1. Son of Nigel Benn and half brother of a fellow rising prospect Conor Benn. So it wasn't Conor. That was a different fighter. Okay. Harley. Conor. Two different.
I'm sure he'll fight again. But God, I guess all you could say is it was a fluke. Get back in and get your winning streak going again. But if he gets knocked out again.
Now, would you guys believe it if I told you that was not the only situation where somebody was in more than 14 in a fight last weekend, and they got their first win? 2, but actually, no, it happened the other way around. It was somebody's always got to go fight, but the guy who was 0-3-2 beat the guy who was 0-15-3. And this was in France. It was a lightweight fight, no less. That's just funny because, what do you call somebody who can't hack it? A lightweight. So, but not making fun of lightweights, don't get me wrong. T-Balt Sargent got the win. He moves to 1-3-2 against Milovan Dragojevic, actually. He was 0-15-3 going into the fight. Now he's 0-16-3.
Man, three draws. 3 draws.
Yeah.
That's how fascinating.
Yeah, not only is it that somebody's always got to go fight the other way around, but it's the only fight on the card. That's crazy. And for some reason, they only have one result here on this card from last week in Mexico. Everything else is a P, whatever that means. I don't think it means postponed. But the win on the card, the only win it shows is Johnny Gonzalez improves to 67-11 over Rafael Hernandez, who moves to 31-11-3 there. And here's a little bit of an upset also in Mexico. If I can get to it. Looks like going too fast on me. Oh, no. Yeah, there it is. Okay. No, that's the other one. Okay, there it is. Down in Distrito Federal, Mexico City, Distrito Federal, Mexico, we had Joel Cordova coming in at just 8-4-2. beating Juan Hernandez Navarrete, who came in at 35-3. So, wow. Big step up at super flyweight for Joel Cordova, and big ups for beating a guy with that kind of record. And only had one loss in his last 6 bouts, too. So, good stuff there. We got another mismatch of the week over there that went as planned. Annabelle Ortiz, light flyweight, she came in at 28-3, fighting a 3-6-1 Barbara Alejandra Martinez Munoz. She got more names than she's got wins. 4 names, 3 wins. But yeah, she lost. What else? From last week. You gotta love this guy's name. I'm sure I mentioned it before, but if you read it the wrong way, his name is Jackasses. J-A-C-K is the first name, Jack. Last name is A-S-I-S. Jackasses. So his record is 38-21-5, and he lost the fight in Christchurch, New Zealand, to Bowen Morgan, who is 19-1. For the vacant
imagine that poor kid's first day at school.
Yeah.
They're just going down the names of the class, trying to make sure he's pronouncing everything. Imagine the teacher, for that matter, trying to say that with a straight face.
Yes. Then Jesus finally won the Jesus fight of the week, because it was the main event in Puerto Rico, Caguas, Puerto Rico. Lightweight Jesus M. Rojas got his 27th win to go with 3 losses and 2 draws over Luis Ronaldo Castillo, who falls to 19-3. And nothing too crazy on the rest of the card. But yeah, good win for Jesus. We got a bunch of P's on that card. Oh, where's the freaking big one? Okay, we're in the UK. We had Joe Saunders remaining undefeated with his 28th win over Shafat Isufi, who came in at 27-3-2, so he takes his 4th loss, and Billy Joe picks up the vacant WBO World Super Middleweight title. So obviously there's going to be some fresh opponents for him lining up to get that title from him. We'll see how that goes. Also on the co-main event, we had Brad Foster, also staying undefeated. He moves to 11-0-1 over Ashley Lane, who is 13-9-2 now, and that was for a couple local titles, the BBBFC British Super Bantamweight title and the Commonwealth Super Bantamweight title. We also had heavyweight Joe Joyce coming in at 8-0 and looking a lot better than that record with a win over Alexander Ustinov, who came in at 34-3 at heavyweight. So that's good stuff on his part. We had the vacant World Boxing Organization Youth Lightweight title going to Sean Cooper, who also stays undefeated. He moves to 9-0 over Boy Jones, who is 18-2-1, or 18-3-1 now. There's the Lee Hallett fight on there too. That was on that same card. 0-16. 0-16-0. And 6-0 Harley Benn. And we had James Tennyson fighting in the United Kingdom over the weekend. He was 23-3 going in. This could have been a mismatch of the week, but it was a guy who was only 500 for a record. 10-10-1. So no surprise, James Tennyson got the win there. Oh, Jesus. That was the Jesus fight of the week, but I didn't realize this was going on last week. This is like the fight card of the opponents here in Nottinghamshire United Kingdom. We had a main event of Regis Sugden getting his second win. So he's 2-0. His opponent was MJ Hall, who was 0-35-2. You also have a guy, Qasim Hussein, on this card. He is 4-85-2. Oh, check that, 86, because he lost.
Wow.
4-86-2. You got Michael Mooney. He falls to 9-61-2. Yes. But 0-35-2. That's
I'm telling you, you just don't see it. You don't see it that much in this country. That really seems to be a British thing.
And then we talked last week about the Scotland card, where there was two somebody's always got to go fights in a row. Main event and co-main event. We had Ivan Branchik not able to notch the 20th win. Josh Taylor instead gets his 15th in the IBF World Super Lightweight title. International, not world, sorry. But, no, International Boxing Federation. So it is the World Super Lightweight. It's so confusing. IBF. Also, Emmanuel Rodriguez at bantamweight could not also get his 20th win. So I guess 20 was a bad number in the United Kingdom this week. Bantamweight fight. That was for the IBF World Bantamweight title as well. Naya Inoue gets his 18th win instead of Rodriguez getting his 20th. And no losses. Still for Inoue and Taylor, but Baranchik and Rodriguez now have the big one. Also, super middleweight Zach Parker did manage to stay undefeated against Stephen Crambert. He moves to 18-0. Crambert falls to 8-5. There's one sort of bad record opponent on here. Brent Fido. How about that for a name? Fidoe. Has a record of 13-51-5. He got beaten by McGregor. You know you got to have a McGregor on the card when you're fighting in Scotland. Lee McGregor gets his 6th win. Let's see what else we gotta get to the big one. Probably at the bottom. Oh, before that, former guest of ours. Probably expected him to win, but he won. Hector Camacho Jr. looking for his 60th win next time. He goes in. He came in at 58-7-1. He got his 59th win in Hockenson, Delaware, over Victor Abreu, who falls to 9-6. That's nothing really crazy on that card. What I was talking about. Other than that fight. And I don't know if he's related to Ray, but Henry Mercer just fought over the weekend in Indiana. And I hope he's not related to Ray because his record is 2-18-0. He got beat by a guy who was 31-25-1. Yikes. Eventually we'll get to it. We gotta run into it. Where's Deontay Wilder? Oh, there he is. Okay. Let's see what's on the undercard there. He keeps running away from me. Dirk Findley. Here it is. So yeah, Brazil goes down to 20 wins, 2 losses. Wilder gets his 41st win. 41 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. And keeps the WBC World Heavyweight title. Gary Russell Jr., 29-1, also got another win, so he moves to 30-1. Got the win over Kiko Martinez. Falls to 39-9-2. That was for the WBC World Featherweight title. And we had a couple draws in a row, which is obviously very rare, but both guys came into the fight undefeated. Well, two of the guys in each of the fights. One guy in each of the fights, I should say. But 2 guys undefeated coming in. Juan Heraldez, 16-0, beating or tying Arguines Mendez, 25-5-2. And then Roberto, that was a super lightweight. Heavyweights, Roberto Alfonso came in at 18-0, and Iago Calades at 26-4. That was also a draw. And then we had the other Russells, Gary Antonio and Gary Antoine Russell, beating their respective opponents. Also staying undefeated, Gary Antonio is 14-0 now, and Gary Antoine is 9-0. That was the big one on that card. Nothing else. Nothing else worth mentioning until this coming week now. The 25th of May. Not a big boxing weekend, but big for cookouts.
Yeah, I think with the house, it wasn't going to be much, you know?
Yeah. Big for cookouts and big for veterans, obviously. Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Alright, what do we got going on? Saturday. We're looking at Saturday the 25th here. First big one with a title on the line. We've got the vacant Universal Boxing Organization Intercontinental Super Middleweight title on the line in Germany. Dominic Cosell. No relation to Howard because it's not even spelled anywhere close. But Dominic Cosell is 8-0, fighting Valentin Kutz, who is 22-6. We got Roman Zakirov. He is 7-0, fighting Taras Golovashenko, who is 3-0. So somebody's always got to go in the co-main event. It's a vacant International Boxing Organization International Super Welterweight title. I didn't even know there was an International Boxing Organization. Is that a new one? The IBO? Making them up by the day. And we've got a guy with a great record on here, but he's got that big old TBA next to his name, so we don't know who he's fighting. But light heavyweight Rashad Karamov is on the card. He is 31-3. Sounds like a tough guy. Let's see, he's fighting bums. Let's see what else we got. There's a Jesus fight in Mexico, of all places. Welterweight, co-main event. Jesus Garola. He is 27-13-3. And he's fighting Daniel Armando Valenzuela, who needs a miracle to get his boxing record on track. He's 36-36-2. And he's got all 6 of his last fights were losses. So I don't know if he got 36 wins and just decided he needed 36 losses to go with them or what. That's a high 500 number. I don't think we've seen that. We either see it one way or the other, but that's what you call an unpredictable opponent, I guess. Also in Jalisco, Mexico, we have Marcela Elena Acuna coming in at 49-7-1, fighting Jackie Nava, who's 35-4-3. So that ought to be a real war at super bantamweight. Only Acuna has a loss in her last 6 fights. Nava has been pretty much unbeatable, I guess, recently. But yeah, why can't we see that kind of fight in America? I guess they don't really. They got the John Scully mentality when it comes to female fighters, female boxers. Although I think he's changed. He's changed his outlook on that a little bit. I thought that was what we were gonna get heated on the second interview there with them and the wrestler there, Ken Shamrock. But nope, he decided to be cool. Anyway, co-main event there in Mexico. Kenya Enriquez, 21-1, so a couple of female fights. Fighting Leyrin Flores, who's 16-1-1. And somehow the main event is not for any title, but this fight is for the interim WBC World Female Light Flyweight title. I don't know how you get records of 49 wins and 35 wins fighting against each other as females, and it's not for a title. They should make one up for this case. They deserve a title fighting each other if they're kind of record. Alright, we got 2 Jesus fights of the week because the Jesus fight is on this card. And it's a pretty big Jesus because he has 40 wins, 8 losses, and 5 draws. Jesus Ruiz fighting Oscar Trujillo, who is 18-4-2. And let's see, we got... Yeah, it's not really that great. Here's one from Poland. Iwa Brodnicka, 16-0, fighting Janeth Perez, 24-4-2, for the WBO World Female Super Featherweight title. A big fight there for female title. This might be the mismatch of the week. And where is it? Switzerland. Was it Switzerland? Yeah, Switzerland. Okay, we've got Arnold Gdurgjog. That's an awkward name. He's got a record of 32-3, although all 3 of those losses are in his last 6. 32-3. And he's fighting Elvis Moyo, who's 9-5-2. So it might be a mismatch of the week, even though he has won all 6 of his last 6 fights. And it's a heavyweight fight, so who knows? Elvis could leave the building on a stretcher or with his hand held high. Co-main event. Cruiserweights. Nuri Seferi. He is 39-9-0. Fighting Rad Rashid. How about that for a name? 16-5. Rad Rashid. Is that his nickname or is that his real name?
Well, what are his initials?
Anyway, let's see what else. Portugal? No, there's nothing worth mentioning on that one. Well, some of these other names on some of the undercards, I'm glad I didn't have to pronounce. We're halfway down the list here. We got Hughie Fury over in Lancashire, United Kingdom, is in action against not the military installation in Colorado, but an actual person named Chris Morad. He is 17-0 coming in, so Hughie Fury is going to have his hands full with that one, I guess. But co-main event is for local title, BBBFC Central Area Super Lightweight title. Somebody's one's got to go here. It's Stephen Brogan, 14-1-2, against Adam Haig, who's 14-1-1. And the only other fight worth mentioning is the only other fight they have in stone here, because everybody else is TBA. Alex Dilmagani, he's 18-1, fighting Martin Parlagi, who is 25-2-1 at super featherweight. You gotta love it when the main event is TBA. In the United Kingdom, London, of all places. Welterweight, Chris Congo is in the main event, 11-0, fighting TBA. TBA. This could also qualify as the mismatch of the week. Also a main event in the United Kingdom. And what a name for the middleweight opponent, you could say. Oh wait, this is the wrong one. This is opponent versus opponent. I'll get to that one next. The other one. This is Julio Cesar, 1-4, fighting Casey Blair, who's 5-52 in Northern Ireland, Belfast. That's the main event. 1-4 versus 5-52. That's bad. But yet they have an 8-0 versus a 1-0 fight. They could have put it in the main event. They've got a guy 9-0-1, Ciaran McVarnock. He's 9-0-1, fighting Alex Baza, who is 0-40-3. 0 wins, 40 losses. So he just beat the other guy with 0-36. And then the other one in the United Kingdom that I was thinking I was looking at is Mismatch of the Week. Sort of, I guess. 12-2 Nathan Reeve, fighting for the vacant BBFC English Super Flyweight title, over Craig Derbyshire, who is 6-27-3. That's quite a mismatch, I guess. We got, what is this crap? Another one in the United Kingdom. TBA for Jimmy Kilrain Kelly, coming in at 23-2. TBA. I guess all the opponents are fighting elsewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, and if we don't have enough fights of the week, we got some names on this one we got to mention. Corey O'Regan is on the very first fight in the card, and he's 2-0. He's fighting Fonz Alexander, Fonz. The Fonz. Fonz Alexander. His record is 6-94-0. So I wonder if he's hanging it up after 100 losses. Yeah. No relation to John Scully, I believe, but Kyle Scully is also on this card. Kyle is 4-0, fighting Lee Connolly, who is 7-43-3. And here's the best name of all, I'd say, because he's undefeated, you know. But if otherwise, I would laugh at him. But welterweight, Billy Pickles, 8-0, fighting Michael Williams, who's 2-12. So ideally, it looks like he'll be 9-0 there. Billy Pickles. That's a rough one. Over in Kissimmee, Florida, or down in Kissimmee, Florida this weekend, we're going to have an ESPN card. Doesn't look like ESPN Plus either. It looks like regular ESPN. Masayuki Ito, 25-1-1, fighting Jamel Herring, who's 19-2 for the WBO World Super Featherweight title. And then we got the Sniper, Jose Pedraza, 25-2, fighting Inez Antonio Lozada Torres, who comes in with 40 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. And somehow, this fight is not for a serious world title. It's for the vacant World Boxing Organization Latino lightweight title. Now, granted, for once, both guys are Latino, but you'd think that'd be for a bigger deal title. Yeah. Pedraza does have his 2 losses in his last 6, and Inez has 1 draw in his last 6 fights, but otherwise 5 wins for the rest of them. So he's on the 100 streak, I guess. And we have a female title fight in Maryland. Jessica McCaskill coming in at 6-2, fighting Anahi Esther Sanchez, who's 19-3 for the WBA World Female Super Lightweight title and the WBC World Female Super Lightweight title. So you got records like that in this fight, 2 titles on the line, but records like the other girls in Mexico with no titles. I don't know how you figure this stuff out. Anyway, great fights supporting this one. This is going to be on Sky Sports in the UK, even though it's in Maryland, United States. I don't know if we're going to televise it here anywhere, but co-main event is Devin Haney, 21-0, fighting Antonio Moran for the WBC International Lightweight title. Also, Michael Hunter is on the card, 16-1, fighting for the WBA International Heavyweight title against Fabio Maldonado. Does he sound familiar? Isn't he the UFC fighter? Or no, that's a different guy. That's a different Fabio, I think. But, yeah. Fabio, fight of the week, I guess, there. And we got heavyweights again. Philippe Hergovic. He is 7-0, fighting Gregory Corbin, who's 15-1 for the WBC International Heavyweight title. Serious test for Daniyar Yelusunov, who is 6-0, fighting Miguel Zamudio. He is 43-12-1. Who's the guy I'm thinking of, Fabio in the UFC, that had a horrible boxing record? Who am I thinking of? There's swear there was a Fabio something. I'll think of it after we're off the air, probably. Fox Sports 1 also is not to be outdone. They have a fight card this Saturday. And it's fairly interesting. We got... Oh, that's not it. Come on, Boxrack. It's going to be from Beau Rivage Resort and Casino. And, nope, that's not it. Come on. Jesus. Alright. Yeah, it's going to be from Beau Rivage, from Biloxi, Mississippi. And Fox Sports 1 televising Austin Trout versus Terrell Gausha in the main event. Austin comes in at 31-5, 3 of those 5 in his last 6. Terrell Gausha comes in at 21-1, just 1 of those last 6 being a loss. And then Cordell Booker in the co-main event at Super Welterweight is undefeated, looking for his 15th win. No draws. And then Wale Omatoso is his opponent, 27-3 with 2 of the 3 coming in his last 6. Ahmed El-Biali at light heavyweight in action. He's 18-1, fighting Marlos Eduardo Simões. Both of them have their 1 loss in their last 6 fights. Simões is 13-1-2. And that's pretty much it for that card. Big stuff. Although Antonio Tarver Jr. is on the card, probably worth mentioning, at middleweight. 5-0, fighting Thomas Hill, who's 8-2. A slow start for him. I don't think he must have had a layoff or something, because I thought he was pretty more active than that. That's it. That's it for the big titles. All that stuff. Also, kind of off topic, because they're not involved with the UFC anymore, but I saw a nice little headline about station casinos today. They got ordered to bargain with the Palms workers. They just bought the Palms Casino in Vegas. And actually the word is that the Palms Casino is going to be right in the neighborhood where they're planning to build a baseball stadium if they do an expansion team in Vegas. Which is very possible next year. Not this year, but I guess next year it could happen. So if that does happen, it would make sense that they put all this money into the Palms, but now they have to not only eat the money that they spent on renovations, but now they're going to have to negotiate with unions. So, yeah. It's going to be rough. And their stock is already sliding a little bit.
I want to go back and stay there. I want to stay in the King suite based off the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's only $15,000 a night.
Oh, well, I believe there was a story years and years ago, like back when I first started Fight News Unlimited, and Dana White was at one point banned from the Palms for something to do with poker. He was winning too much, or I don't know if they thought he was cheating or something, but he was actually banned from the Palms at one point. And shortly after that, they pulled the UFC fights that they used to have there. And it's because he was so pissed about it. And so then later on, after they're away from the UFC, the Fertittas buy it. It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
So I bet now Dana White can gamble there again.
It's not like to lose.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Vegas is losing.
basically what happened is, this culinary union has been mortal enemy of the station casinos people, so much so that they had a massive campaign going where they even outlined all the stuff that I had written about science and put more on top of what I had. But a couple times when I was out in Vegas, I sat down with culinary union people who wanted to interview me at length, and my beef with them is always, why are you pretending like you're going to do an MMA, union, because you're not. You're never going to. You're just doing this for your people out there, your culinary workers, which is all well and good if that's, that's your basically your point from the beginning, your outspoken view through the whole thing. But now, just because you want to get them to do something on the casinos, you're going to stick your nose into UFC fighters' businesses and highlight all these issues you're going to do nothing about. It's one thing to highlight issues of, intimidation and anti-union busting tactics and all that stuff with your organization in these casinos. But when you step into the cage, basically, and talk about, these fighters are treated unfairly, and you're not literally not lifting a finger to start any kind of MMA union, it just smacks of irresponsibility to me. And I actually wrote an article on one of the websites that I did side work on, ranksports.com, about it. That it's asinine to just put all that effort in and spend all that money, because these people are paying dues for you to represent the union, and it was very low for them. I think maybe if they had taken serious steps to create the union, I'd have been more on their side. But I mean, at the same time, I love anything bad that happens to Fertitas, that I find out. But some of the stuff they did, it's just always rubbed me the wrong way, and it's just pure animosity that they have for the Fertitas in that regard. And I just say, focus on your goal, stick to the task at hand, and don't stick your nose where it doesn't belong. I mean, there's been all kinds of efforts and talk about unionizing, and they've got, I think, 3 different organizations. One of them actually has 3 big-time sports agents involved, and they have done nothing either on this front, because it's almost impossible with the setup as independent contractors. It just cannot be done in a traditional union fashion, which makes it even more irresponsible that the culinary union would drum all this crap up about issues that should be addressed by a union, but they're not going to ever address them. Anyway, that happens to be the last story of the week. So, yeah, they're going to be spending a lot of money over there dealing with the unions yet again. Yeah, we'll keep track of that. Also, I got a call last week. I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I got a call last week from the Financial Times. I had a British accent and everything. And they wanted to talk to me about the Fertitas. He said he was going to follow up with me, but he didn't. But the big reason why they responded to me was I sent an email about the story about Thomas Barak, who was a guy that was connected to the Fertitas and invested in their casinos, and also had bankrolled Michael Jackson before he died. And he's still trying to get rid of Neverland Ranch because he owns the whole thing. But he made some bad deals, and one of them was a merger with a real estate company. And so he's taken a hammering right now, financially. And one of the reasons why the Fertitas are mentioned in the story is because one of the places he was hammered was in that bankruptcy when they bankrupted Station Casinos. So the article goes through and doesn't make any mention of the fact that Thomas Barak didn't leave the casino investment when they burned it, and they went bankrupt. He bought into the bankruptcy on the other side. And there's absolutely no mention of it in this big, huge article by the Financial Times. And I think it was published in the Los Angeles Times. So, it's pretty big stuff to be putting in a newspaper and not explaining. So, the bottom line, I wanted to say, you guys need to, do your homework. Figure out this guy's still involved. And number 2, I said, you should probably look more into the Fertitas and just not put a footnote in there about them, because I'm pretty sure they're trying to make moves to buy the Los Angeles Raiders. And I mentioned that in an email. And so this guy, also all he wanted to talk about was the Fertitas and the Raiders and why I thought that. So I told him about the phone call I had with a private investigator who happened to be based in Los Angeles. Well, I think it was last August. Talked to him for like a week. He sent me a ton of emails. So I was pretty convinced at that time that nobody else would put that kind of effort forth unless it was a very big deal. And the biggest deal they could possibly be involved in would be the NFL team deal. And they've been making all kinds of moves to liquidate assets and try to make that big step up. And that's what I've heard has always been the Fertitta brothers' dream, is to have an NFL team. So now that I've drummed up enough interest to get a private investigator to call me, it's good to know that there's actual, like, high-level investigative reporters now, at least one of them, who is interested in the story. So he said, well, I guess last thing he said to me before we got off the phone was, well, I guess I better go read your website. I go, okay. But yeah, it was about a 10-minute conversation, and we covered as much as we could, but I went through it all as quickly as possible, and he ate it all up. He loved it. He was very intrigued. But, you know, with the Fertittas, it's probably never going to be written about, but it's good to know that somebody out there knows it other than me and has really researched it and might pull it out of his back pocket at some point when he needs it. And that's the kind of thing, I don't even care if he ever even references me or not, but, you know, it's just, it'll be something where I can, if I do see it out there, if there is a big article that comes out and some of the stuff I pointed to him is mentioned, I can at least say, well, yeah, I know where he got that. Yeah, that's my soapbox of the week. And that's all we got, I guess, till next week. We got kind of a slower schedule, so we won't have as many fights to talk about, but I will keep an eye on the news till we got something.
Okay. And, gentlemen, both enjoy your holiday weekend.
Yes, sir. Same to you.
I try.
To all the veterans out there, you know, happy Memorial Day weekend, and
yes,
we hope that you enjoy it. And you know, obviously, to all the families who've lost veterans, we extend our prayers and our gratitude for that service and that sacrifice. And it's a big deal to me because, you know, being from military school, I personally know a couple people who made that sacrifice, so I think about them every Memorial Day, and most particularly the guy that was on my boxing team, Captain Anthony Palermo, who was killed by an IED in Iraq. And had a big part in his memorial stone that they put up in Brockton there back in the day when I was working with Dennis Maurice and the Rocky Marciano Foundation. And he's the one that actually connected me to the Walmart grant part of that got us $1,000 for the plaques. So it was a good effort, good story, and we actually tied it right in with the Battle of the Badges too. So it was a great time, great event. A lot of great causes got served. And big shout out to the Palermo family, and keep on keeping on. That's all we can do. So until next week, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fight this weekend.
All right, sounds great.